If you've been watching tennis videos on YouTube for any length of time, you could be forgiven for thinking that tennis is easy. Because after all, you can learn to hit Djokovic's backhand in 4 simple steps. You can even hit Federer's forehand in 5 simple steps. Or you could just follow these key checkpoints and you'll be ripping winners like the pros in no time. So the question is, why are coaches lying to you? Because tennis isn't easy, tennis is hard. And if you've been playing tennis for a while, you already understand that. You've watched the videos, you've gone out on court, you've tried the stuff, and it didn't work quite like the coaches told you it would work. So the question is why? Now, I grew up playing tennis as a right-handed player, but due to an injury from a mountain bike crash, I've been relearning to play tennis for the last 3 or so years with my left hand. I've done okay. I've got to a solid 4.5 level, and I can tell you for sure that if I just followed the coaching advice that was on YouTube, there is no way that I'd have been able to get to this level, because most coaching on YouTube doesn't teach you the important stuff that you need to know to actually improve. So that's what I want to do in this video. I want to explain the most important things that you need to do to go from where you are now to becoming an actually better player. So hopefully you find the video helpful. If you do, it'd be great if you give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, it's much appreciated, and it really does help me out if you could do that as well. And it also helps me to get this information to more people. So the first really important thing to wrap your head around is that tennis is a sport that requires a high degree of skill. You need to have really good eye-to-foot and eye-to-hand coordination in order to play well. It's all about trying to read the flight of the ball quickly, set up in the right position, and then being able to control and sequence your body in the right way and make adjustments relative to the flight of the ball. So it requires a lot of eye-to-foot and eye-to-hand coordination. And the reality is that most players don't have the level of vision and coordination required to play in the way that they really want. So if you want to become a better player, that's something you should be working on an ongoing basis. To help you with that, I've got a program that's going to teach you how to train and improve the visual skills, and I've got a program that's going to teach you how to improve your coordination. I'll leave a link to both of those down in the description so that you can check them out if you're interested. You also need to be fit when you play tennis. So depending on your current state of fitness, that might be something you need to work on. You also need to have an element of strength and flexibility, so potentially they're areas that you might need to work on as well. But these physical things are going to be really important because your body can only do what your body can do. Now that you understand the importance of developing yourself physically, let's talk about what you need to work on and improve while you're out on court. And it's probably going to be very different to what you might be expecting. But what you need to do is you need to record yourself playing points and playing a match so you can get honest data and honest feedback and make your decisions based on what's actually happening when you're under pressure. And we're going to look at this from a tactical perspective and from the technical side of things. But we'll start with the tactics because you're probably losing points in a different way to what you think. Most people think they lose points because their opponents hit great shots. But what you'll find is that most of your points are being lost because you've made a mistake. You've made a simple error, and it's normally trying to hit a shot that you just shouldn't have hit from that situation, or trying to be too aggressive and trying to hit a shot that you can't execute on a consistent enough basis. Because if you can't execute a shot 8 or 9 out of 10 times, then you simply shouldn't be going for it in a match situation. It's just it's a losing tactic. So the easiest thing that you can do to improve is better shot selection. Think aiming for bigger targets. So if you're hitting deep, aim for around here. If you're hitting deep to the forehand of a right-handed player, aim to around here. If you're hitting deep to the backhand of a right-handed player, aim to around here. But if you're aiming somewhere in this area, that's also going to give you a lot of margin for error. It is absolutely crucial to wrap your head around the fact that most people will gladly miss if you give them the opportunity. It's not until you get to the 5.0 and above level that players can step in and they can rip winners on a consistent basis. So if you play at that level, then we've got to look at things differently. But if you're a 4.5, if you're a 4.0, if you're a 3.5 and anything below that, shot selection is key. Just aim for bigger targets and it's going to help you to win more. Now let's talk about the technical side of things. And again, this is probably going to be very different to what you're expecting. And obviously there's no right or wrong answer. There's no perfect technique. It's the best technique that you can do based on your skill level. That's what you're aiming for, but it still comes down to the same thing. Record yourself and see what you actually need to work on, not what you think you need to work on. And what it is most likely going to be is something to do with the way that you prepare for your shots. And that's probably not what you're working on. You're probably focusing on on some finer point with the arm or the hand or the wrist, because that's what coaches talk about. But watch yourself back, watch everyone else around you, and what you're going to start to notice is that most of the issues are to do with the setup. So the first problem that you're going to encounter is lack of intensity in terms of your recovery. The vast majority of players hit their shot and then they stand there and they just start to move somewhere slowly. Tennis doesn't work like that. Tennis is about being set up in the best position possible. That's kind of the key thing. And in order to do that, you need to do a split step at the right time. And you need to land your split step at the right time, just after your opponent's made contact. So then by the time you land, you can read the flight of the ball and you can start to react and move into position. But you can only get your split step at the right time if you recovered properly in the first place. So after I hit my shot, I'm going to be recovering and making sure that I get into the correct position. So are you recovering with intensity, or are you wandering back to the middle and just kind of standing there? Because your feet shouldn't stop moving while the point is in play. So maybe it's 3 shots, maybe it's 5 shots, maybe it's 10 shots, but you shouldn't ever end up flat-footed with your heels on the ground when you're playing. You have to be constant on your toes. So I hit my shot, I come back to the middle, I'm in there, I step out, hit my shot, I'm back in position. So maybe I'm in a backhand to backhand rally, but I'm constantly on my toes, and then I'm waiting, and then I'm split stepping, and I'm moving, and I'm waiting. You get the idea. That's what it should look like. And that requires energy. It requires effort. If you don't have the fitness, then that's why I mentioned fitness earlier. You've got to have the fitness in order to be able to do it. So the intensity of your recovery, then the actual preparation. Are you doing a split step, and are you doing it at the right time? If you're not, you've got to focus on that. That's the setup for the rest of the shot. That's the stuff we need to copy from the pros. Watch them all. All high-level players do a split step on every shot because it's part of the shot. Then from there, we've got the preparation. And obviously, while we're preparing, that's where we're doing the shot selection. So this is a really key time. We've got to be moving into the right position and deciding what shot we're going to hit. But most players don't set up in optimal positions. There's 2 kind of big things that happen. One is players get too close to the ball, so they get too close on their forehand, or they get too close on their backhand. And because of that, it prevents them from using optimal biomechanics. So you hear coaches talking about inside-out swing paths and things like that, which is going to be really important. But you can only do that if you set up far enough away from the ball. So this might just be something you need to focus on and practice and get repetition and try and set up further and further away from the ball. The next big problem is not moving back. Most players are just kind of rooted behind the baseline. And when they're practicing, if someone hits it long, they volley it from up here. What you need to do, you need to program yourself so that your feet respond to what you see. So as your opponent makes contact, if you see it's going deep, you need to just start that process. You need to have habituated just moving back quickly. So then you can take the ball in a comfortable position rather than trying to hit these unrealistic shots from up here. And the things that I've covered there are basically going to be the things that 99.9999999% of people that are watching this video need to work on. But don't trust me. Record yourself and you'll see that that's the case. And every time you get drawn to what your racket did, or maybe where you made contact or how you followed through, bring yourself back and go, what happened before that? Did I have good intensity with my footwork? Did I get good spacing? Was I prepared in position in time? Because that's another big thing. People, they don't get into the right position and then they're not fully prepared. So by the time the ball's bouncing, depending on the type of ball, I need to be loaded and initiating my forward swing. But it's still all to do with the preparation. So this is what you need to work on with all likelihood. Record yourself, find out, get honest data, and then make a plan to work on it. And then it's about being disciplined. It's about not getting distracted by all the things that the coaches say every time you watch a video. It's about working on the foundations over and over again until you fix them. And once you fix them, then you can move on to the next thing. And that is how you progress and get better at tennis. So hopefully this has been useful to you. Reminder about the programs that are down in the description. Tennis is really a skill-based sport. In order to react and read the flight of the ball, you've got to have a good visual system. In order to make all the adjustments, you've got to have good coordination. That's why I make these programs for you, so I highly advise checking them out. But if you're not interested, that's no problem. Just take the other advice, record yourself, go find out, see what you're actually doing, and then work on it.